Hey everyone, so this is Catfish UK season 1, episode 6 and 7. Because I've missed the last couple weekends. Um, so first with episode 6, it's Esther and Theo. Esther's best friend Anita, who actually lives in the States, in Texas, writes in and she explains that she's 21 and for the last year has been talking to a guy named Theo after he started talking, after he kind of hit her up in on Instagram, I assume. And they, bonded over the fact that they come from the same tribe in Nigeria. And he supposedly currently lives in Nigeria, where he's been for the last, or where he's been since January on business. They've made several attempts to meet, and he keeps pushing back the date of when that will happen. Um, and he makes excuses not to video call her. So they go meet Esther in person. Still not wearing fucking masks, by the way. Um, and sends everything she has in Theo's. So the next day, they start their investigation with the number. Nothing comes up with the number. So they look at pictures, which also doesn't really give them anything. They look at his Instagram page, and it seemed real. There's a personal trainer on there, so they message him to help them out. They look at the tag pictures and meet a person, and message a person who seems to be like his sibling or something. They get a message from the trainer. He gets on video call, says, the person in the photo said, like, because they show him a picture of Theo, and he says the picture that they're showing him is of someone named Michael. He doesn't know any Theo. They look up Michael on Instagram, given the last name that they know of, or that this personal trainer provides, after they get off the call with him. And that profile, according to Uba, is even more basic than the Theo profile. So they then message, the guy who's tagged on Theo's profile, or they get a message from the guy that was tagged on Theo's profile, and he's like, well, I've known Theo for like years, and while we're not actually blood related, I feel like his brother, or I feel like he is my brother, and to not call him, or contact him since he has a lot going on. So, they then go back to Esther Filleran and they decide to call Theo, or decide to send Theo a link. And Neve's done this a couple of times over the years, on the regular Catfish, where they send a link to a catfish, and if they click on the link, it'll send them a notification, where they are currently actually at. So they'll find it out if he's actually in Nigeria or not. A few minutes later, he's clicked on it and he's actually in South London. So they call Theo. A woman answers, assumes it's a prank, and hangs up. So they decide to go to London the next day, but not before sending a text saying that they know he's in London and to meet up with them and Esther. Next day, pick up Esther, start to head to London, and on the way there, Esther gets a text from Theo claiming, "Well, I just arrived in London the previous day." I'm like, that's such bullshit. That is such bullshit. I don't believe it. And he's like, "Well, I want to meet now." So she's like, "Okay, fine. Where do you want to meet?" He sends the place. They go to it. Lo and behold, it's Theo. But when they get inside, he explains, My middle name is Theo, my first name is Michael, yada yada yada. And he's claiming that the girl who picked up the phone the day before is his friend. Again, I'm not fucking buying this shit. And he says he doesn't have time to video call or whatever. And I don't believe any of this shit. Like, I don't. Like, if you're so busy that you can't video call or nothing, or even get on the fucking phone, really, why exactly are you trying to pursue a romantic relationship? Because the person, the other person in the relationship is sitting here, um, putting their life on, or putting their romantic life on hold anyway, for you, when they could be out there pursuing a relationship with someone who actually wants to be in a relationship with them. So I don't believe none of this shit. I don't believe none of it. Um, and I don't know. I don't believe none of this shit. So it's like 2 months later, they're FaceTiming now and all this stuff. Like, you know what? Because I believe that the girl who answered the fucking phone call, she was actually either his. I'm assuming it was his girlfriend, because if it was his wife, she would have said so. I believe it was just his girlfriend, and the only reason why his ass is FaceTiming now and all this shit is because her ass broke up with him, and now he can actually pursue a relationship with her. Like, I think that's what happened. So that's all that happened with that one. So going to episode 7, it's Mario and Hannah. Mario's from Milwaukee, um, and he has been in England for like, I think he, because he said it like once and like very quickly. I think he said he's lived there for like 11 years, um, and 6.5 years prior, he went through a tough divorce that left him broken, which, and because he, was feeling kind of broken, he turned to drugs and alcohol, which also, and that in turn led to his 2 kids being taken away. Um, so he decided to get his shit together, and 8.5 months, and then 8.5 months prior to Uba and Julie getting his email, he went on a dating app and met Hannah. So, as per usual, she, cancels plans to meet up. So, they meet him. He goes over the whole situation again, um, or a whole scenario again. And then he sends info on Hannah and all that. So, next day, they begin their investigation by messaging Matt, Mario's best friend. They then look up Hannah's Instagram, which is private. They then look up, postcode he got from her. There are 3, but none with Hannah. Like, there's 3 names attached to, like, there's 3 results that come up with names attached, and none of them are Hannah's. Matt calls and says it's weird they never met up, and that, Matt posts a lot of shirtless pictures, and maybe it's a guy trying to catfish Mario because they're jealous or some shit. Um, so he searched the photos after they get off. Um, After they get off the phone with him, and um, the first couple don't really they don't come up with anything for the first couple, and then the last picture looks professional. Look that up, and turns out it's a photo of a woman named Sarah, who's from New Zealand, and she's a dance instructor. the dance studio she works at, it has an Instagram page. They go to it, see Sarah tagged in like one of the photos, goes and they go to her Instagram page. So they get in touch with Sarah um, to get more information from her, see if she knows anything about these this Hannah profile. So she replies back, jumps on the video call. They fill her in, and she's like, "I know nothing about this." So what Uba does is he has her make a video, send it to him, and once they get off the video call with her, run over to Mario, tell him everything they found, and play the video for him. Um, and so now he knows, this is not really Hannah, it's someone else catfishing as someone made up. So what they decide to do is they try to decide to call Hannah. Someone picks up, doesn't say anything, and as Uba is trying to explain the situation, they hang up. Immediately later, really after, Mario gets a text from Hannah saying she wants to meet, um, but only if he promises not to leave. So he's like, fine. She sends him an address, like or a place to meet. They go to it. Lo and behold, it's Courtney, or a woman named Courtney, who is one of Mario's best friends and roommate. Turns out, a couple years ago, about 5 years ago, they started having sex. She moves in to their apartment or into their flat or house or whatever, um, and we find out from Mario that they've already discussed this whole romantic relationship thing already, where he's not feeling her romantically, um, and yet she's desperately in love with her or him, per her words, not his. Um, so Julie's like, well, there's a lot of animosity in the air right now, so let's just take 24 hours and kind of have you guys cool off, all that stuff. Um, so the next day, they meet up with Courtney, and first at the shared space, they and she's like, well, I'm hoping that he realizes that falling in love with Hannah meant he fell in love with me. I'm sitting here thinking, like, girl, if he really was in love with you, he'd have made you his girlfriend and eventually his wife years ago. If he really had romantic feelings for you, this would have happened a long ass time ago. And guess what happens when his ass comes there? She's like, I'm not in love with you. Like, cause like I'm serious. If a man loves you, is in love with you, he would not wait to not only make you his girlfriend, but if he has intentions of being married, he'd not wait to get married to you. He would have slipped a fucking ring on your damn finger a long ass time ago, and it would have been a wrap years ago if he had romantic feelings for you. And this is exactly how women become baby mamas, because they assume that a man who's having sex with you is in love with you. They're not mutually inclusive. They're not tied together. I mean, all the time. At least not in my opinion. They're not tied together all the time. Yeah, a man may have sex with you, but that doesn't mean he's in love with you. I mean, there are men who have girlfriends, wives, how even in homosexual relationships, you know, they can be in love with the person that they're in a relationship with and have sex with them. But I mean, having sex with someone who you're in a romantic relationship with means that you're in love with them, sure. But that's not, I mean, just because you're having sex with someone doesn't mean that you're in love with them. That does not mean that. And that's what I mean, that, and that's, like I said, that's exactly how a lot of these women become fucking baby mamas, because they assume that because a guy is giving it up to them that they must be in love with them. It's like that, but they're not always mutually inclusive. Like, they're not always tied together. They're not always tied together. It's just not. I'm sorry. And I mean, yeah, it'd be nice if, you know, he reciprocated your feelings, but that's just not the case in this instance. So I'm just like, girl. I mean, the writing was on the wall after a year. If he didn't make you his fucking girlfriend after a year, uh, there was no way he was gonna make you a girlfriend 5 years later, or yeah, 5 years later. There's just no way. He would have made you a girlfriend 5 years later. I'm sorry, but yes, I can't. I really just can't. Anyway, so he's like, well, the best for me for this whole situation to move forward, I have to move out because I'm just not in love with you. So 2 months later, Mario says he moved out for 3 weeks, and he and Courtney, you know, sat down and had a conversation, and again explained, you know, there's no romantic feelings on my end, um, before moving back in. So that's episode 6 and 7 in a nutshell. And then next Saturday I'll have another video for you guys again. So thanks for bearing with me on this one. So see you guys later.